honest with ourselves, most of us want to be the most important person in the world to someone. And not just anyone will do. We want to be attracted to this person. And we want it to be someone we admire. But the most important thing is we want to matter more than anyone else in the world to this person. We want this person to be quicker to defend us than basically anyone else. And we want to be perfectly at ease with this person. We want to plan together and have adventures together. You know, the thing is, most of us will get this for limited periods of time across our lives. The problem is making it last. For any one of us, the odds are just not good. 50% of marriages end in divorce. And of the 50% who stay together, it's probably optimistic to say that half of them are really happy across their lifetimes. There's a lot of people just sort of sticking it out, lowering the bar. You know, the fact is we're really no better at long-term love relationships than we were 100 years ago. But in the last 40 years, something different has happened. While we've been busy making rookie mistakes over and over again in our relationships, researchers have been busy mapping out in amazing detail exactly what people who succeed in their relationships do differently than people who fail. Everybody has an idea about the answer to that question. You know, what does it take to make a marriage work, for example? Your mother has an idea, your priest or minister has an idea, but until recently we had no real scientific evidence about what is the difference, what do these people do that distinguishes them so that they get the prize that's been elusive to so many people across history. A really satisfying long-term love relationship that stands the test of time. Well, over time, these researchers have been able to zero in on a core set of habits that are so important that they basically make or break your relationship. You know, the dizzying array of bad things that can happen in relationships can all be traced back to the presence or absence of this core set of abilities. Researchers found that by measuring the presence or absence of this core set of habits, they could predict the eventual fate of relationships with over 90% accuracy. Well, 90% predictive validity is virtually unheard of in the behavioral sciences. Actually, even in medical science, you can't predict rates of lung cancer in chronic smokers with anywhere near that degree of accuracy. Yet these researchers were able to do it in study after study after study. These researchers have basically taken the guesswork out of the question of what does it take to have a successful relationship. We now know exactly what we need to do if we want to virtually guarantee ourselves the kind of relationships that people throughout history have wanted to have. You know, the jury is no longer out. We have the verdict, solid scientific evidence. This is kind of a big deal. There are tons of studies that show that the ease and enjoyment that you have in your primary love relationship spills out into all other areas of your life. For example, people who have good marriages tend to have more successful careers, better physical health, they have 35% less illness across their lives, they live an average of 4 to 8 years longer, they have less depression and anxiety, and their children, the benefits for their children are substantial too. Kids tend to be physically healthier. They're better able to regulate their emotions. They do better in school, and they have healthier immune systems. So yeah, it's kind of a big deal. And yet the evidence suggests that only 1 in 4 Americans has the full set of habits that are needed to stand a chance of having a long-term love relationship that will work over time. It doesn't seem like it should be that hard, right? Many people believe that if a relationship requires a lot of work, that it's probably not meant to be. But the relationship usually isn't the problem. It's the abilities of the people who are trying to have the relationship. History is full of people who left one relationship only to fail in the next. Why? Because you take your habits with you. People often ask me, aren't the abilities that are needed for relationships to go well more or less just common sense? Well, the answer is some of them are, but some of them decidedly are not. Researchers themselves ran into quite a few surprises. For example, it was generally assumed that among the most important abilities would be communication skills, like making I statements or like active listening. But what they found is the most important abilities are internal, not interpersonal. They involve qualities like flexibility, open-mindedness, the willingness to count your partner's feelings as much as your own. They also involve the courage to rock the boat when you need to, but to do it in a constructive, respectful way. People who are good at getting their partners to treat them well know how to combine toughness and tenderness in a way that most of us don't know about. They know how to require that they be treated with respect while making it very easy for their partners to treat them with respect. They don't arouse their partner's natural defenses unnecessarily, like the rest of us tend to do. They know how to stand up for themselves without putting their partners down and without making a big deal of the fact that they had to stand up. Most of us don't have these abilities. Why is it that so few people are able to do the things that are needed for relationships to work? Well, one reason seems to be that at the moments when people need to be most skillful, they're not even trying. They don't think they should have to be trying. These are moments when they don't like the way their partners are thinking or acting. If you don't like the way your partner's thinking or acting, often it'll seem to you that you're not the one who needs to be the focus here. It's your partner who needs to be the focus. And yet these studies suggest that the way you react at moments when you don't like the way your partner is acting is kind of a big deal. Not everyone reacts the same way. Some people react in ways that make it more likely that their partner will continue doing things that they don't like. Other people react in a way that makes it so that their partners are motivated to change their behavior. If you don't have the ability to react effectively when you don't like the way your partner is thinking or acting, you're a rookie, you're an amateur, a lightweight. You're gonna fold under pressure. Some people really have a hard time getting with the logic that I'm describing. Wait, okay, so my partner is doing upsetting things, and I may not react well to those upsetting things, but isn't the real problem the upsetting things that my partner is doing? I mean, okay, I could react better, but seems a little bit turned around. But here's the thing that researchers found. Sooner or later, in any long-term committed love relationship, partners start doing things that piss each other off. And part of the problem is that what's upsetting is in the eye of the beholder. So that one person may be acting in a way it's upsetting to the other, and the first person can't even understand why that's upsetting. Regardless, the bottom line is this. Your partner's going to do things that are upsetting to you. And if you didn't have this partner, your other partner would start doing things. Everyone is going to face the situation where their partner is doing upsetting things. If you don't have the ability to react effectively at those moments, your relationship is not going to go well. The ability to react effectively at moments when you don't like the way your partner is thinking or acting, that ability is not optional. You have to be good at it. Most of us are not good at it. But the point is, we don't even think that we should have to be good at it because we don't think our partner should be doing upsetting things in the first place. The second reason why it seems to be so hard for people to execute the abilities that are needed to make their relationships work, it has to do with the fact that even when people do accept responsibility for reacting effectively, even when their partners are pissing them off, what happens inside is that automatic urges and tendencies get triggered that carry them in the wrong direction. Their intentions are good, but in emotionally charged situations, automatic instincts take over. Researchers have discovered that people react in stunningly rigid, redundant ways when they get upset with their partners. Even when they know it's not working, they keep doing the same thing over and over again. So, brain scientists have found that the culprit for this situation seems to be that the brain is equipped with these neural response programs so that once they get activated, they unfold without you having to be there. I mean, your conscious self, you go on autopilot, basically. So you have these urges and impulses and the tendency to interpret things in specific ways that are different than they would have been even only moments before. But once they get set off, it's kind of like you're along for the ride. They have a mind of their own. One of the big problems is that most of us it doesn't even occur to us that we need to try to act differently until we're in the middle of the situation and the way we're acting right now doesn't seem to be working. Then sometimes Some of us will try to act differently, but at that point, it's sort of too late. It's like swimming upstream against the current because you already have these neural operating programs up and running. Fortunately, you can do something about it, but not at the scene of the crime. Skilled musicians and athletes know that you can't just show up at a concert or a performance situation and expect to do well unless you've spent hours and hours developing the inclinations and the instincts and tendencies that are going to enable you to do well. And yet, for many of us in relationships, the only time we try to do better is when we're in a performance situation and it's not going well. At the Couples Clinic and Research Institute, in the last 3 decades, one of the main things we've been working on is developing daily practices that if you do them over and over again, they can give you the inclinations and tendencies, the automatic things that happen inside of you can actually take you in the right direction. You don't wait to do these practices until the moments when you need to be skillful. You practice ahead of time, just like the driving range or the putting green for a golfer. These practices, when you do them regularly, will give you new automatic tendencies, and you can learn them so well that they sink down into your bones and become like muscle memory. They become second nature to you. Our counseling program at the Couples Clinic will basically help you do 2 things. First, we'll help you identify gaps in your relationship skill set. You might be thinking, I think my partner is the one who has most of the gaps in the old skill set, so maybe this would be a good program for my partner. You deserve to know that the evidence is against that. Once partners become frustrated with each other, studies suggest that they do dysfunctional things in relationships at approximately the same rates. They just do different types of dysfunctional things. That can be a hard pill to swallow, especially if your partner has done some pretty bad things, like, cheated on you, or lies bold-faced to you, or badmouths you behind your back, or something like that. And you know you haven't done the same things to your partner. Researchers have actually found that there are 2 different types of things that can kill relationships. One type of thing has to do with, the big bad things we're talking about. Infidelity, etc. But researchers found that there's another whole class of dysfunctional things that can kill a relationship. And they're not like those big wallop kind of things that I just mentioned. They're more subtle, but they occur on a regular basis. They have the effect kind of like that ancient water torture technique where you drip a drop of water on a prisoner over and over again. In the first few drops, the prisoner's like, this is supposed to be torture. But, by the 3,000th drop, it's actually excruciatingly painful. Well, there are things that people do on a regular basis in relationships that predict the end of relationships just as strongly as the more obvious offenses. And that's why partners do things at approximately the same rates that can be damaging to relationships. At any rate, the first thing that we're going to do is help you identify what your gaps are, what your dysfunctional habits are, and give you a clear idea of the changes that you need to make. Presumably, then, you're going to be trying to make those changes. And as you do that, if you're like most people, you'll run smack dab into the limitations of your nervous system. You have these automatic tendencies that will get set off, and even though you may have told yourself only moments before, I'm not going to do that same old thing again, you'll find yourself doing the same old thing again. So the second thing that we're going to do is introduce you to daily practices that can literally reshape the way your nervous system reacts in emotionally charged situations. As the weeks go by, we'll show you how to use your growing abilities to have conversations that you've needed to have but have not been able to have successfully before. There may be old hurts or wounds that need to be healed, and you may need to have conversations about them. There may be big areas of disagreement or gridlock in your relationship, but with your growing abilities, you will now be able to resolve those gridlocks. And as we move along, you will find that you're much more able to handle the bumps in the road that come up on a day-to-day basis. But you'll want much more than that. I mean, most of us, we don't sign up for marriage or an intimate partnership in order to avoid fighting. We want the good stuff, right? I mean, we want the kind of relationships where we really look forward to spending time with each other, where we can sense that the other person is truly enjoying our company, where we have laughter, where we have fun adventures together. The last part of the counseling process involves us giving you tools and exercises that can breathe life into your relationship. Many people believe that they'll have more positive feelings toward their partners when their partners are doing more things to make them feel positive. But the truth is, that's only one of two ways that a person can find themselves feeling more positive toward their partner. The other way actually has to do more with you than it does with your partner. Studies have shown that people vary widely one from another with regard to how easily they experience positive feelings. Some people have very sensitive nervous systems. It just takes a whiff of something positive for their nervous system to generate, honest to God, good feelings. It reminds me of back in biology class where we learned about the tiny hair-like sensors that pick up any audio wave coming into the ear. So some of us have sensors that pick up on good happenings and generate feelings like that. Other people have sensors that are more like an iron bar. It takes a sledgehammer to register anything. But the point is, the degree to which you feel positive toward your partner on a daily basis, it may have as much to do with your own instrumentation as it does with what's going on out there and what your partner is doing. In the last part of the program, we're going to focus on two kinds of exercises. With one type, you'll learn how to trigger and cultivate positive feelings in your partner toward you. But the other set of exercises are priming exercises. When you do them, you teach your brain to pay attention to and pick up on positive things more regularly. And your brain will begin spontaneously generating good feelings in response to that. So there it is, a description of the territory that lies ahead.